Hi, Julie. Nice to see you after so long. I mean, it's been a long time. It was break week and then the week before because we had exams, right? So feels like it's been forever.
It's nice to see you also. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Joe. I forget the last time I saw you had cut your hair, but then I haven't seen you in a while. So your haircut is still feeling new to me. You might be accustomed to it by now, but it's been a while. Give me a second here. All right. And so, how did your spring break week treat you? Yeah, don't bowl me over with the chatting.
I had classwork in my 2 other classes.
Actually, you're the second student who says that to me, and I was going to ask people now about that, just to see what was happening. And you spoke before I could even ask. Like, what's that all about? It's spring break. Why would teachers still be teaching?
Well, the coursework was due on the 29th, and I could have done it like the week after our midterm. I could have just done it that weekend.
Well, that makes more sense.
There was a lot. So
one of your classmates told me that their teacher, some people gave the break the week before, so the week after, and I'm in the middle. I'm like, are you in different colleges? And she said, no. It's like, that's different. I mean, it's one thing to have work. A lot of teachers do that. I do my best to not do that, to have people have a break. But some people think, oh, break, they have time to do work, right? So they give you that time, which makes sense if you have a big project. But she said that they had class during the weeks, and that is not okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any classes. None of my classes met, but I just had some work to do in them.
Well, work to do is unfortunate, but yeah. I mean, when I give people a large, like when you take the people who take the PowerPoint class, that they have to create this whole PowerPoint of their own. I assign it so that if they want to work over break because they want to spend more time, they have the opportunity. Some people don't have the chance, otherwise they're busy with classes. But I don't want to assign stuff that's really huge due after break, because then you're basically nixing the possibility of break. Everyone deserves a chance to rest, as far as I'm concerned. Even students, you are people. Visit students are people too. I think sometimes some teachers might forget that. Anyway, no, but it incensed me to hear that some teachers had taught over break and given break the week before or something. So maybe, yeah, that's wrong, because if they want to go somewhere, but then during break, people have families and kids, and I guess I also have kids, and I hate it when our vacations don't coincide, right? Anyway, I'm just chit-chatting while people get here. I'm not sure how many people heeded the call of access, of access as in the application that we need, the siren call of access. So we will wait a little bit longer. Julie, did you have to work through break, or did you have a break?
Julie, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yep, I was struggling there. No, I was working on other classwork. So anyway, but there's always seems to be so much to do. Not enough hours in the day.
So I'm involved in a ton of different groups right now, school based. We're doing a lot of equity work and trying to figure out a lot of stuff based on how it's working for students. And in one of those groups, there's actually a request for students to be involved. So if anyone's ever interested in that, and I believe they were paying. You all get the messages, but you get so many messages. The invitation occurred over break, or I think on Friday before spring break, and saying if anyone wanted to be part of that. Anyway, so I thought now and then I might bring you guys as students some questions as to your opinion of how certain things go. And one would be interesting to know is, how do you guys feel about working, like having the break to do work, or would you rather have things assigned before or after and have your break? So, hi, Katie. How are you doing? Oh, yeah, you're silent. Oh, you're just going bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, I
Not
was like,
saying
I was about
anything.
to talk and I was like, okay, never mind.
Hi, Pedro. Hi, Stacy. So go ahead and head into your chat and type in your little hi, I'm here. So I'm not sure that that we're going to get a lot of takers on Access, which is interesting. Is everyone is either tired from too much working over spring break or too much partying over spring break. And hopefully no one went to Florida. But anyway, I know, don't laugh. Someone goes, obviously, I think that place was infested, right? I think people
I
who
didn't
live,
even look. I don't even want to know.
people who live here go to Baja, right? But I don't know. I guess you couldn't cross
San
the border.
Diego, I don't know.
Yeah. Is San Diego a spring break kind of place?
I don't know. I'm old. I don't know.
I know.
Well,
I was gonna-
San Diego is the second. Ivy and San Diego have the two party areas for
Yeah.
college towns.
Yeah, but no, I don't
I-
think people come to Ivy for spring break. Sorry, they come for Halloween and other stuff.
Yeah.
Ivy's here. By the way,
Ivy,
all of you
not as
guys who
much.
don't live in Santa Barbara, Ivy is our college town, so to say, right outside of UCSB. But a lot of city college students live there too, to go party.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, they do they did Floatopia for a while. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
happening anymore, where they all just
Yeah,
float around on little inner tubes in the ocean.
yeah. It's become
They regulated that pretty hard.
very regulated. So we're talking to a bunch of people who are not locals though in this class. I have to remember most of you guys are not from here. Actually, I
Yeah.
remember Pedro. Pedro, where are you located? I'm not sure I know.
I'm from Carp, Santa Barbara. Yeah.
Oh, so you are a local. See, there you go.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that one of you guys, but yeah. But if you're a local, you're probably not necessarily one of the Flotopia guys either, meaning
Nope.
it's usually out of towners, but who knows, maybe you do.
I'm,
So,
I'm up in Oakland, so
yeah.
That'd be a bit of a drive to go hang out and get sunburned for a while.
Mhm.
I could do that in my backyard, thank you. I think that's with COVID. It's like, I'll do Flotopia in my backyard. It's fine.
I mean,
Don't
we're
need to-
lucky. We're lucky we even get warm weather where I live. So.
Oh. Yeah, we're starting the ramp up to heat now.
we,
They
we don't
finally.
we don't get heat until well, we have a little 70-degree weather now,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll get the fog will start rolling in, and I live closer to the water than other people do. Oakland doesn't always get all the fog, but San Francisco of course gets all the fog, and I get a little bit, and then it'll be hot in September and October, and then it'll rain.
So I think I've waited long enough, and I'm sure you're all dying to know what I have to share. Like if I don't share right now, you'd be desperate and desolate. So I'm going to share my screen. So here we go. We have good old Access. But first I wanted a little bit of a recap. You guys did great. I think that you're one of the ones who did the best in exams. So things are progressing. Either people are getting accustomed to working online or something, but really good grades. Very, very near perfect. And a few people with 100 points. So congratulations. I want to make sure yeah, this one isn't from this class. This is from a couple of classes ago where someone told me, wow, studying makes a difference in grades, right? So I just kind of threw it there because it's one of those things that as teachers, it doesn't occur to you. But ever since I got that feedback, that I've begun really reminding people that it's about doing those trainings again and again. And that really is what makes a difference. So you guys who took your exams, did you find that that was so? Did you find that there were a lot of really surprise questions or things you didn't know?
I did really well on the Excel. I surprised myself by how well I did on the Excel. I didn't have to look anything up, or it just was really easy. Not easy, but I didn't have to look anything up.
Yeah.
There were a couple of questions that got me on the word, and I was just like, okay, I'm not going to understand this. I'm just going to do my best, and if I don't get it, I don't get it.
Well, if you ever want to review it just because, hey, you want to know it, then ask us. But if you don't care because, hey, you got a great grade anyway, that's fine. One of the things that what you said is you did really well without having to take notes is that tells me that it's kind of creeping into your being. And what I mean by that is at work, you can use it versus
Yeah.
it being something that you're learning and that's fine. And you'll never use it in your life. Like, Pythagoras theorem or whatever, which I personally don't use, but that you're actually able to apply it. So that's really good to know. And so remember that if it's about being able to apply these skills, if you have any questions beyond the points 1 to 35 you're being asked, if there's something you don't know that you want to know, for all of you guys, just ask us something you're doing at work, something that maybe we do know how to help you with that and maybe we don't, but let's keep it real. You are doing these things at work, right?
And the practice sessions really worked. I mean, they really helped. And I will say that.
The training and running through it. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm always torn about this system. I'm so accustomed to teaching and not credit. I actually hands-on teach instead of sending people to a book and to a training. But I find that students learn both ways. This feels less personal. Like I don't get to be the teacher as much, more of a handler of material. But that's what I'm saying. If you guys actually have real questions about things, please use our two of us sitting here to help, like at this point, 4 students. So anyway, wow, I'm stuff going on. So I've updated the grades. If you have anything surprising there, I believe I checked. I've updated all of the all of the extra credit assignments. So let's go check right now. Go and see. I'm going to stop the sharing for a second because I just want to get this over with. Go and check and see if you see all the grades you should see, because remember that the extra credit assignments I had to hand transfer, and I want to make sure that you guys see the grades you're expecting to see. If you did do well, actually, maybe I should first find out how many of you did hand in extra credit assignments. Did anyone here do that? Wow, my voice is not coming out.
I think I did a few, but I'm still checking.
Okay, so go ahead and check and see if you have anything in your grades. It seems ungraded. I think I got it all, but I have to say I graded after the exams were due because that's when the deadline was. And I haven't checked this week, which you shouldn't have, the deadline were due, but just in case anything got missed, let me know. I don't think so. Let me see. End of modules. I have to say that one thing that would be much more generous, I am at least much more generous for the extra credits since we've gone online. In last session, most people did them, but this session, not that many people took advantage of it. I guess most people are doing pretty well with their grades. So I guess if you don't need to, there's no need, but yeah, most of you guys are doing great. In fact, anyone who's here right now is doing awesome. Okay, Everything looking good grade wise? Give me a thumbs up. Make sure that you're hearing me and that you're checking. Cool. All right. So let me share my screen one more time. So we won't talk during break if there's no surprises. So today I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about Excel, using Excel as a way to, well, as a database, which is what Access is, but in a smaller way, but not so small, like many businesses out there only use Excel and don't use anything else. It depends, I guess, on the amounts of ins and out, how big of a business you are and how many clients or inventory or what you need to keep track of. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use Excel, and then the difference between Excel and Access. So as far as what's due next week, two things, but staggered. So this time, ahead of the class time, as usual, all you're going to have due is the actual training. Okay, the Access Module 1 hands-on training. Yes, this time it is your assignment. We used to do 2 modules of Access, but some years ago things changed and we only do Module 1. So the first training counts as an assignment. It's worth 10 points. Of course, the apply portions. Access seems to be a place where people stumbled a lot, and the decision was made that it was more important to spend more time on things that were that gave you more chance to practice getting the basics of Access correct. So your assignment is the training, and that same day, that at the end of this class, so to say, 9:29 p.m., we will have the Access textbook project. So instead of, you can, of course, do it on your own all week like you normally would, but if something's wrong or if you need help or whatever, then you still have the time during class to complete it, where you can ask us, ask for support from us too, which usually when there's a lot of people in class, a lot of people need support, but given that so few are coming to Zoom, I don't know how many people will use that, but if it's even one of you guys who need support, we're committed to giving you that support. So that'll be due the same day, but later. Okay. Now, when I'm going to tell you about Access, we're going to work on the hands-on training, and we're going to, if someone wants to in class, we can work on the assignment today already, or you can all just take off and do it over the week and then get help during next week. It's up to you. Don't forget that to get the points, you have to complete the apply portion. Okay, I think by now we've explained it enough that you know that, but that's, now that these trainings are normally not graded, this one is graded. It's the apply portion that gives you the 10 points if you complete them all correctly. Any questions before I move on? Nope. Okay, so I have, there's something new, which is Access files are very big. And when you do your work in Excel or in Word, if you haven't moved your files to the correct spot, if you've left them in the downloads portion and worked from there and then submitted, you might not even notice that if something disappeared from your downloads because, hey, you submitted it anyway. But if you're working in VDI, once you download the start file, you must move it to your S drive. If you're working at home, do it wherever you want. But on the S drive, the start file, by the time you complete your project, becomes too big, and it usually gets corrupted and doesn't get saved, and people come crying and they have to redo their whole assignment because we can't save anything that's corrupted or broken,
Yeah,
like
if it's
you're,
still in the downloads folder.
if you leave it in the downloads folder,
Mhm.
many times it gets messed up and corrupted. So don't do that. Please drag it to your student drive and work from it from there, as we taught you the first day. In particular with this one, it is very important. I can't tell you how many shoulders Katie has had to pat when people in despair about to turn in their assignment end up discovering that they have to do it all during this time we give you during the day in the next class because it disappeared. All right. So anyway, yeah, I saw a thumbs up there. I thought you got the message. So cool. Now, this is exactly, I already said that. And this is not something that's fixable. We cannot help you. You have to basically have to do it again. I cannot take the assignment if it disappeared. All right. So with that warning, let's go ahead and talk about Excel and Access. Let me first have you guys open good old Excel that you've already done. You all know Excel, don't you? So we're going to go ahead and, oh, I forgot that I need to sign in to VDI for you guys. I was about to open my own here, so give me a sec. vmview.sbcc.edu. I was on it this morning. I taught for our class already that now I have on Tuesdays from now on, I will be teaching for our class right before I teach yours. So, and then I had a webinar I had to attend to this morning. It's been a crazy day. And VDI gave me problems and crashed twice. So I do hope I do not have those problems today. But I was using pretty high level graphics programs, Photoshop and Bridge, and 3 Adobe programs, and maybe that was the reason. Let's hope so. So when you go to, so it's taking a little time to connect, VDI. Is anyone here on VDI? Julie, Joe, Pedro, Stacy, are you guys, any one of you guys on VDI? Joe? Okay. So Julie, Pedro, and
Yes.
Stacy, you're not? Yeah. Okay. So Pedro also. While I'm waiting for my VMware to turn into Windows, Stacy or Pedro or Julie, have you been applying any of what you've used in Word and Excel in real life, school, or work at this point? Has it come in handy?
Well, I use Excel a lot at work, so everything I learned in Excel.
Yeah. Joe, you've been mentioning that, and that's why I'm curious whether anyone else had that experience of actually having to create something in Word or Excel, or has it been just a theoretical thing you're doing for class, or are you actually using Word or Excel?
I use Word and Excel pretty much daily. I'm an accounting assistant for the city, and so I use Excel. It is like my lifeline. So I've definitely seen where just little tips and tricks. I mean, I've used Excel for years now, but there's just little things that just make life easier that I learned through class that have now become an everyday practice.
Cool. What's your favorite thing that you learned that really you like, whoa, I wish I'd known this sooner?
Being comfortable. I mean, I knew how to do it, but just getting comfortable with the conditional formatting. It's made I spend all day looking at numbers and being able to say, give me
green, yellow.
Yeah, I mean, give me the largest out of this list. I mean, it's so easy.
Wonderful. Well, I like to hear that. Sometimes people question why learn Word when so many people by now, I'm signing in as we speak to the Canvas through VMview, because a lot of people are using Google Drive, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google I guess that's it. Slides, sheets, and docs at this point. There is no equivalent to Access in Google. And honestly, the thing is that the world of business is still using Office. And that said, I do foresee the day when things will change. We know I did foresee the day in the past when things would change because Office had stayed desktop-based, computer-based. But now Office is able to be used online. You can share a document, edit live, from people in 2 different places, could be editing the same document. Basically you can do a lot of what people were preferring Google for. It's just that since they took so much longer to get it going, people have this idea that Google does that, but not Office. So as long as, but businesses are slow to change. So if everyone knew how to use Office, they're not going to switch to Google quickly. And now that Office switched, maybe they'll start having people in business start using it in a much more cooperative manner, much more, based off of the cloud and stuff like that. And that's something that I find that I would like to spend more time teaching in this class, like to modernize how we teach it as well, to spend more time on the collaboration, the online collaboration part, especially after this year, right? Of having to work online. So I'm, considering some of that material is pretty crucial. But if you all had a question about that, here I'm finally there. So let me share my screen. That if y'all had at all a question about it working for collaboration, it is completely 100%. You can use it on your phone, you can use it on your iPads, you can use it on Androids, PC, and you can share material. So let's head over to the downloads. I have a file there that I want us to download. So I'm going to go to download class presentations. And I'm going to head over to today's date. We are here. Midterms, here we go. Okay. So I'd like us to download under week 11 the practice files. We have these 3. So I'm going to click on this little icon to download them all quickly. If you click on the actual Word, it'll open up inside of Canvas, and that's not really useful. So just click on the little down arrow for it to download, because we can see it here, but it's not necessarily something that's going to be useful to us. Okay. So we're going to use these files to practice. Now, notice that when you try to download an Access database, which if you notice, this is an Access database, it says .accdb, Access database is the extension of this file. Look what Google is saying. This type of file can harm your computer. Do you want to keep access? Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so in this case, yes, I'm telling you it's harmless. It's good. Say okay. But yeah, databases can carry, if you download them from anywhere online, they can carry a lot of viruses or things attached, because you can program things, you can program macros, you can do a lot of stuff in these files that could, if someone programmed them with the intent to harm your computer, they can have nasty stuff attached. Okay, so it would still be great for you guys if you ever get databases from someone else to make sure it's from a reputable site. Don't go around just downloading any old Access database. All right, so as you can see, the 3 things that I've downloaded, 2 of them are Excel files and 1 is a database. So I'm going to click on this one that says home product line, 901 home product line, to make it open Excel, or you can just open Excel first and then open this database. Let me go ahead and say minus, but I have a bit of a better view on it. Wow, I've used this file before, but I don't remember it having so many products. Okay. Notice that there's 2 different sheets in here. Right now, I guess in order to read it easier, they have like gray, white, but other than that, it's a whole host of numbers. And trust me, Stacy, isn't this great? Where isn't this where conditional formatting would be really great? Right?
Yep.
When you have to look at all this and go, what's sold best and what's more expensive, and do I have any of these left or whatever. So in this case, we just have category, department, product size, color, price, in stock or sold, and revenue. So this is basically using Excel as a database. It's the opposite, that there are some numbers, but we're not adding them up, right? I mean, I guess if you go to sold and you go to the very, very bottom of the sheet, have they bothered adding it up? Nope. And here we don't even have anything adding it up. Maybe they do here. They brought in the totals, right? So if you notice, it's material brought from the other sheet. And we're not going to do this for this class, so you don't need to know this step. But this number isn't pulled out of nowhere. If you look at the formula, it actually comes from a file, from a cell in this sheet. Okay. So that's how they're getting this number. They're basically summing, adding everything up in the other department, in the other sheet, instead of doing it here. But my point today isn't to review using Excel as we have before, but using it as a way to mine this data for information, which is really what Access is going to be all about. It's finding specific data amongst whole bunches of data. Specifically, the data that you want would be a specific client, a specific product sold, a whole range of product, how well is a whole department doing, what products sell best, things like that. So when you want to do that in Excel, the first thing that we're going to do is that when you want to keep all the information, you just want to organize in a certain way or another, then you have to use something we call sort. And when you want to isolate information from the rest and keep only the result that you're wanting, then we use something called filter. Now, the reason I'm teaching it to you in Excel versus just teaching you in Access, because you're going to see sorting and filtering in Access, but then you won't know that this is so useful in Excel. And so I'll teaching you here, and then I don't need to bother teaching it to you in Access. And this is how I feel like at least you get a little bit of database work inside of Excel in this class. So notice that some things already are sorted, so to say. If I look here, I'm going to go all the way to the top of category. It says textiles, textile, textiles, textile. And then it goes to home, textiles, furniture, textiles again. So clearly it's not mixed completely. It's not saying textiles, home, furniture mixed together, but they are mixed enough that I can't get a real gander at what's up with all these textiles, or what's all up with the category home. Same with over here. This is slumber, organic cotton sheet set, dream, slumber, dream, slumber. So things are mixed up. So we have to choose one of these that we want to be the one that we're trying to find data from. Let me go to the first one. If I want this category to be sorted in a way that puts together all the textiles, all the home, all the furniture, so that I can see all at once, I need to first of all click into this column. Now, the important thing is as opposed to just about anything else in Excel that tells you to select your data before you practice something upon it. In this case, it's the opposite. You just want to click inside of the column that you're interested in. Anywhere, it doesn't matter if I'm clicking on the word home or on the word furniture or on the word textiles. As long as I click a cell that's inside of this column, right? That's all you need. Except for, don't use the headers. Don't use the headers of the thing. Just have it be on one column. Then I can go up to, and I'm in my home tab. Then I can go up here to the far right where I see the auto. Remember, we used all the auto everything, right? To the right of that, you see a little funnel, and it says A to Z. So sorting is very simple in Excel. At the basic level, it's just A to Z or Z to A. So basic alphabetical order. So I'm going to click A to Z. And now everything here got sorted in such a way that column A has been reorganized by A to Z. Well, what do you mean A to Z? Well, F in the categories is the nearest to A. And as I scroll down, and I'm scrolling down, it takes me all the way to roads 96 to see home, okay, which in alphabetical order comes afterwards. And then I have to keep scrolling all the way to 144 to see lighting. So basically I can finally say that, okay, so all of home is here, like that is home. And this up here is all that's furniture. So it gave me a priority of categorizing the category, of sorting the category column, and everything else got mixed up. So if I look at price, nothing else is really important. Nothing else here matters. It's all based on the first one. Does that make sense? I'm going to hit here and do the opposite and say sort Z to A. And again, now it starts with textiles, but again, this is the main category. I go back to A to Z. Now, there's two ways of sorting, A to Z, Z to A, or let's go to a number, right? So how many were sold? This is quantity sold. So I'm going to go over here and click in here. And now I'm going to try to click here and see how A to Z disappeared. And this time what I have is a choice of largest to smallest or smallest to largest. So I want to see which are my better selling products. So the more of them sell. And so I'm going to go from largest to smallest. And I'll see that the textiles, bath, natural, bamboo, shower curtain, white for $39 is the product that sold the most. That's my best-selling product. Now, what if I wanted to see what's my best-selling product, but I wanted to see the best-selling product inside of each category? Does that make sense? So here I can see that textiles sold the most there, and then I see home, there's something, and then I have to find furniture. I'm not seeing furniture at all. So what was my best selling product on furniture? Well, the numbers don't help me anymore. I have to go all the way down here to find furniture. And when I find furniture, here I see a furniture. I might have missed another one ahead because it's not sorted well. Well, maybe if I'm lucky, it might mean that this is my best selling furniture product. Does that make sense? But it wasn't easy to find. And I might be wrong. I might have skipped through a furniture over here. So can I sort two things at a time? Can I find what's the best selling product within each department? And yes, you can. You can do a sort and then another sort and then another sort. And we have so many categories here that we could even do 3 levels of sorting. You have to have a lot of material to be able to do that, but you can. So let me show you. First of all, I need to decide which is my most important thing to consider, and is the most important the price or the category? In this question that I'm having of when I'm saying I want to find out which is the thing that sold the most per category, what seems more important?
The sold column.
Yeah, I probably want to start with the sold column, right? So that would be the first thing I would sort by, so that the numbers always appear top to bottom, most sold to least sold. But then within that, as opposed to now that I had to go all the way down to find furniture there, I want to find the top selling of each of my categories. And then I want to find, maybe we can decide which of those were what color. I don't know, something like that. Or department. I guess there's departments too, something like that. So basically we have to do a staggered kind of sorting. So I'm going to go ahead and start with sold as my section that I click into the column. And I'm going to go over here to sort and filter. But I'm going to go ahead and go to custom sort. Oh, I didn't make you yet a co. And someone came in. Let me make
You
Okay,
already
you
did.
co-host.
I already am. Remember we did the,
Oh, I
thing
did it beforehand. Now
and
it's
it's
now
actually
it's-
working.
Now it's automatic. I don't have to make you a host anymore. Okay, so so back to what I was saying. So hi Jos, how are you doing? We're looking at Excel from the point of view of how to use it as a database in order to then segue into how Access works with stuff. So anyway, here I'm in sold and I'm going to go over to the good old filter, but instead of just choosing one of the options, I'm going to go into custom sort. Click on custom sort. So hopefully you're all doing this. And if you're that way, you can follow. Let me just move this a little bit over here. You can follow through with the examples because it's only by doing it that you can find out what isn't working and you have questions. This is applicable knowledge for the class to know how to sort and filter indirectly because you're going to do it in Access, but it is applicable knowledge. So so basically my first, and let me just clear it up. I was selecting already. Make sure you select already inside of sort anything. It doesn't need to be the Hollis one. I just select in that. That way, when you choose custom sort, your first choice of sort is already there. It basically said sort by sold. Okay, so the header sold. Sort and the cell value of largest to smallest. So this is the same as what we asked for before. We're saying sold, set it by largest to smallest. But now I want another level. So I'm going to click here on add level. So first sort by sold, then sort by, and let's go to category. Okay, so I'm going to go to here and click on category. So now it's going to go to this column next. And here we want it to go from A to Z. So let's just go with those two right now. This is important. If it's not turned on, you need to say my data has headers, because if not, it's going to include the words category, department, product in the things that it sorts. So you need to let it know if you have set. All right. So if everyone has these two set up, I'm going to go ahead and say okay to that. And now we're like, okay, this seems to look the same as before. I do have the highest number there, and then the numbers go down. Over here on the left, textiles, actually, we probably needed to start with categories, because here we're having the same problem. Because it's prioritizing the next longest number belongs to home. Let me go back to the custom sort because we can fix that. And I'm actually going to change. I'm going to select this one, going to sort by, and I'm going to move it down. So now the sort is first by category and then by sold. And I'm going to say, okay. And let's see, there's so many. Usually it's easy to see the answer because when I do this example with other, I should have culled this list a bit. So now it's telling me in furnitures, this was the highest sale. And if I look over here in furniture, this number is 1392, and the next one is 1330, the next one is 1301. So it's true, within furniture, this is my highest sold category. So then if I go to home, which is the next thing that comes up, this is my highest selling number. This is my highest selling product, okay? So it's a subsort. First it sorted categories and then it went by home. So each time I change category, I can find the product in that category that sold the most. So then I'm going to go versus before it wouldn't have had this sub sorting. So then I can go in lighting, that's the biggest number, 640. The number after that is 594. Does that make sense, you guys? So you first read by what's your topmost category, and then there you go. In textiles, there's my bath bamboo shower curtain that sold 8,000. But when I do this, it's because I want to keep all the information. Does that make sense, you guys? Any questions at this point? All right. No more questions. Thanks for the thumbs up. And for the no. All right. So, and you can keep packing it in. If you have a lot of material, then you can keep asking double and, 3 levels down, 4 levels down. So we could go down and say, okay, so this is a textile bath. Then see how bath, kitchen, and dining, it's all within textiles, but bath is a B, and K and D are not in alphabetical order. So in this case, it's prioritizing price. But if I then say then prioritize categories and price, it would then have this one be the first, this one be the second, that one be the third, and so on and so forth. All right. So that's so much, that's all we get for sorting. Now, some things make no sense to sort because, like if you have different prices, different sizes or whatnot, sub sorting certain things don't matter or don't make any difference, but others do. What if I wanted to see color? Like I really cared which color sold the best of the furniture or of a certain product. So maybe I want the product that is natural bamboo 2-drawer stand. Did it sell best in one color or in another color, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on, I'm going to choose, you guys choose whatever product's on the top of yours. Mine is here. This one's natural bamboo 2-drawer stand. I'm going to go ahead and custom sort. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that the first thing I want is product, because that's what natural bamboo 2-drawer stand is. And then I want to see which color. Okay, so we're going to go A to Z and A to Z on both of them, because one thing we cannot do in this case is choose natural bamboo 2-drawer nightstand. That's the one thing about sorting. I'm going to have to go find it under the N. Does that make sense? Maybe it would have been better to look for bamboo armchairs that are easy to find. Natural bamboo 2-drawer nightstand. I can't say, show me what colors of that one sold best. I have to sort all the material and I'll say, okay. And then I have to go in product down to the ends for natural bamboo 2-drawer nightstand. And I discover that it existed in ebony and in natural in 3 colors, actually. Let me select all 3 that are the 2 drawers. It was ebony, natural, and white. And then when I look at the numbers, I didn't do a 3rd sort. So this is not in order, right? So I can look at this and I go, ebony sold 260, natural 1,300, white 12. So I can see that 1,300 was the best seller, which means natural was the best seller. So if I cared more about color and then discover how many sold, if the amount doesn't matter, but customer preference, then I sort by customer preference. Okay. Now, what if instead I want things to disappear? I only want the data that I want to see and not the data that I don't want to see. So let's choose a different concept. Let's choose department. Like I only want to find data that belongs to the dining department or the kitchen department or the bedroom department, right? Because I'm in charge of just bedroom or I'm in charge of just kitchen. So then this time I need to filter. So now, right now, it doesn't matter what column I'm in. The first thing I need to do is I need to say that I want to filter, because when I go up here and say I want to filter, did you see something in particular happen on the sheets? I'm going to do that one more time. When I go up here and choose filter, any visual, big visual change? Is anyone still awake? Snore, snore. Hello? No questions? No one noticing what happening? Okay. I'm going to undo this and I'm going to ask you guys to focus. Look at the headers. And I'm going to do filter once again. What have the headers acquired now?
The little drop down triangle boxes.
Thank you. There's little tiny arrows. Yay. When I could assign extra credit, I tell you, I had chorus of people answering. I can't do that now. Because no one's supposed to be showing up here. I mean, people are supposed to show up, but I can't reward you for showing up. So these little arrows there are the ones that are going to help us filter things. So this is a big part of Access is going to have these kind of arrows here too. So I'm going to choose department. And I'm clicking this arrow here. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, I want to see only kitchen. So I'm going to turn off the select all. And I'm going to click on I only want to see kitchen and say, okay. So there you go. Now I'm only seeing kitchen products. Within kitchen, I have home, textiles, and home again. Looks like there's no furniture and there's no, but there's 2 different categories in the kitchen department with all these products, with all of these sizes and all of these surfaces. So what if I only want to see now kitchen department things that are white? So now I go here to color and I turn off the select all and I see things that are white. I say, okay. And there you go. Now I'm seeing only kitchen, white stuff. Now within this, I might want to see which sold best. And I don't care what the product is. I just want white kitchen stuff. What sold best? Now I can go over here to sold and sort. So I'm combining a sort with a filter. So I'm sorting the largest to the smallest. So now I have kitchen white things that sold the most, which is the natural bamboo kitchen washcloth pack of 2. Does that make sense? Wake up. Yay. Thumbs up from 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the thumbs up. It makes my life be totally worth it. All right. And I'm not extremely exaggerating. When you're teaching and you feel like there's 0 response, it really makes you wonder why bother. So thank you for responding. All right, guys. Even if you did it just to make me feel good, hopefully you also learned something. Now, how do I get rid of this? I didn't lose all the material. I can see how here it shows me a little arrow where nothing happened and a little funnel where there was a filter introduced. So I can click over and just say clear filter. And now I'm going to see all my departments again, but it's limited. Why? Because I'm still filtering through white, right? So I can go in here and we can just clear the filter from color. And now it is still being sorted. And look what sorted looks like. It's just arrow pointing down. And only it's arrow pointing down because it's largest to smallest. If I had done smallest to largest, then the arrow would be pointing up. But see that little icon there that changed? So I'm going to make it a bit bigger so you can see these icons. Wow, a bit too big, huh? Somewhere in between. So that little icon there shows me that it's sorted. So I click from there. And we can't easily get rid of a sort because in the end, a sort is just, there's always going to, every column, every data set, let's say, is always going to be sorted in one way or another. There's always going to be one thing it's sorted by, either by alphabetical order, top to bottom, last name, first name. There's always going to be one thing that it's been the order in which it was written. And there's going to be one thing that the data got created by that's going to be less random, right? And it usually is whatever's in the first column. Doesn't need to be that way. It tends to be last name, first name, stuff like that, or product number or something like that. So, okay, so let's go ahead and I'm not going to make you do an assignment with this because this isn't necessarily the quiz, the thing we're trying to learn here. We're going to do access now. I'm going to shift to access, but as much as you can do all of this database work and more, you can go even deeper than this. And with numbers, you can actually find many other things that you can do to make this work. But this is a good enough, so to say, way to introduce sorting and filtering. Basically, you're trying to find stuff amongst all this data. Stacy, you said you work with sheets all the time trying to find things. What other ways do you look through your material in your job? What other ways do you find things that you need to find?
I use the find next to sort and filter up at the top.
Mhm.
I'll use that. Really, I use filtering and sorting the most, though.
Okay. Is there any other trick up your sleeve that you use that you might want to share, within sorting and filtering, something that maybe I didn't mention since you're someone who does this a lot? Or is that basically it?
That's basically what I find helpful. The same as you went through and selected numerous columns, like, for example, you had kitchen and then you had white.
Mhm.
That for me is really handy with what I do, because we're looking at, I work for the water department specifically, and
For the what?
the water department for the
Water,
city of
okay,
Santa
got it.
Barbara.
Mhm.
And it a lot of the times I'm looking at different, the company, but looking at, we buy numerous different parts from a certain company, and so looking at being able to sort 2 columns at the same time or filter that way
Mhm.
is what I use the most, and you showed that. So I
Cool.
don't
Well,
know that I can think of too much more to add.
oh, that's great. And you know what? I really asked because theoretically, I mean, I do this, but with much less, in my personal business, I need to sort and stuff, but I don't have this much product. So when someone says they already do this, I want to hear it from people who are the people who are doing it, boots to ground or boots on the ground or whatever it's called, people who really do the job. Is there something important I should be knowing to tell people about? So there you go. Well, thank you then, that there's nothing in particular that stands out that's missing. The point I'm saying is I usually have small enough groups of data that sorting is enough for my personal use. But when you have a lot of data, filtering becomes really good.
Yeah,
Now-
the custom sort feature is convenient too. Harley, sorry, my dog is growling.
That's fine.
But the custom sort feature is really convenient as well, because I just actually had an instance yesterday, that a friend of mine at work, we were looking at some specific main break data, and that feature really helped us get down to the nitty gritty of what we were trying to determine.
Mhm.
So that was really helpful.
That's awesome. And we use it in school a lot of times to discover at school which classes to offer, how many people are signing up, which years, which sessions to sort and that, and discover, whoa, look at that. People are signing up for this class mainly in this time of year and not in this time of year. So maybe we should offer one session of this instead of 2 sections of this time of year. And most people like it, stuff like that. So it helps you plan, it helps you find stuff, it helps you organize, it helps you decide whether to go with white next or charcoal next. There's many reasons you might want to sort. I don't know how many of you guys are parents. I think I've heard enough babies background there. It occurred to me once when my kids were in preschool, I got put in charge of the parent list to communicate with parents and they had to volunteer. So I had this list of what some people had a pickup truck, some people had extra tent, some people had coolers. So by putting this kind of data next to their names, then when it was time to take material up to where we were having our party, I could just sort through and go, oh, okay, these are the 4 people with pickup trucks, and these 2 said they could work on Saturday, and this one is the only one who can, what I'm trying to say? You just kind of sort through the data, even if it's just for volunteers. Instead of calling everyone as a pickup truck, you go, oh, this is the only one who said yes to working on weekends or to moving stuff around on weekdays because they use it for work during the weekends, right? And then you just call one person instead of 12 to find out the answers because you just fill in your data in your Excel sheet. So it's a very practical practical type of application. And up until then, I had only used Excel for finances for my business. And when I did that, I thought, wow, this is really powerful. And I really started noticing that there is a much bigger use of Excel that hadn't even occurred to me up until the day I had to do this for my preschool class. Now, one last thing I wanted to show, if I'm setting my cell outside of the data field, this is in anything in here is the data field except for the headers. I put my mouse anywhere outside of the data field and try to create a sort or a filter, it'll just basically tell you it can't be applied. So it'll remind you, select a single cell in any range, you know, so it has to be within the data set. If you're out there, it can't perform any of this stuff. All right. Got it. Now, I'm going to head back to my good old database, not database, my good old PowerPoint, and share the PowerPoint screen with you. All right. So now that you have an idea of what it's like to work with data, and that was a lot of data there in that Excel sheet, but it was still data that all fit. And actually, let me one last switch to share again the database. All of this is very important, that when you create data, all the material, all the different information for one item should be in one row, right? Like you can't have information about this particular reclaimed wood modular chair be on a different row. The only thing that matters is to keep, even if I have to make 20 columns to describe more information about this piece, it should always be in one row. Now, but can you imagine the usability or the utility, so to say? Hold on, I've lost, I clicked on something in my, I know you guys can still see it, but myself, I put behind me. I'm gonna have to move this forward. Sorry, I made a mess and now I can't see. I'm gonna have to, I pressed on something wrong. So I need to get rid of this because it's in the bottom. There we go. Sorry about that. I needed to reshare. Okay, so imagine that I'm trying to put more columns here, right? What we call headers. Category is actually a good word for these things in Excel. And, you know, columns have to belong to one product, and then categories are just different, columns are just different categories that fit. So if this is clients, you would have maybe last name, first name, where they live, for example. So address, but you wouldn't have address and city and zip code in one column. You would have street address in one column. The next one would be city or zip code, or apartment number, maybe in one of, I don't know, apartment number would go as different, county, city, state, et cetera, et cetera. You might have phone number and stuff like that. So it can go on and on depending on how deep you want to go. But the thing is that this same company might have a listing of who bought the reclaimed redwood secretary desk. There's how many were sold? 4 of these were sold. So maybe they do have customers and they have a list of customers, and they can tell that one was sold to, you know, City College, another one was sold to whatever, Cottage Hospital, another one was sold to, right? and they want to track who things were sold to. Does that make sense? So you have more than just this list. You have the data of your products, but you also have the data of your customers. And then you also have another list that might be the data of who provided you with the parts and pieces that you, or you, who you bought them from, because maybe it seems here that maybe you make this material, or maybe you buy them from people and you resell them, you repackage them with your company name, who knows? So maybe you have other companies that you buy these products from, and you know that, you know, company A, you brought the redwood secretary desk from, and company B, you bought the bamboo headboards from, and company C, you bought the washcloths from. But you want to be able to keep track of all of that. So basically, there's some way to connect all these databases. It would be crazy to have one database, which is this one, have not only all of the information about this product, but on top of that, to say where it came from, like who sold it to your company, or who provided you the wood that you made it from, or who purchased it and how many people purchased it. All of that can't fit in one Excel sheet. So when you want to relate one database to another, so that you can find out which customer bought what customer, which is on this sheet, to this secretary desk, which is on this sheet, to whatever company it came from, like where did you source your wood from? When you want to relate your tables that way, then you need something like Access, which allows you to relate these databases and query all three databases at the same time and find the information in a way that it goes in and discovers which client bought something from which product, which department, and which, I don't know, lumber mill sourced the wood for that desk. Does that make sense, you guys? So a much deeper look into how to find information. And so that's a relational database, okay? And that's what Access is all about. It's a relational database. So now I'm going to switch back to sharing my my Excel sheet. And so the first thing about databases is a bunch of data, information stored on a computer in the form of tables. So that spreadsheet I just showed you, we would just call it a spreadsheet in Excel. In Access, it would be called a table. Okay, so it's the same thing, but it's called a table. And the columns that we called kind of like categories in Excel, those columns would be fields, and the rows, each one of the rows are, here, let me show you the different things. So the column, the columns, this is Access now instead of Excel. It looks very similar, doesn't it? So here we have a row, and here we have the columns. There's some things here that need to exist to relate one to another. So in this case, this ID here, for example, that might have not needed to be there if this was just Excel, might exist here just in order to create relationships between these materials. So let me actually go back to a very basic question. What kind of databases are you aware in your daily life that you are using or affect you? Can you give me examples of databases that you use?
At work, we use a database called Munis.
Okay. So you are very specifically working with a product that's specific to your company or to your industry or something.
Right.
But in your real life, like beyond work, like your personal life, and this goes for everyone. like in your personal life, do you think you have any use for databases? Like, do databases enter into your life's experience at all?
No, not for me
Hmm.
that I
I'm
know.
sure they do, but I can't identify them at this point.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because it's hard off the top of our head to think everything I've been explaining. Because what I've been explaining, and this is key, is from what we've been doing right now, what I did in Excel, what I told you about, that's from the point of view of the creator of the database, right? The person, you've seen the tables with all that data and stuff like that. Like, how does it affect you? But let me give you this example. When you go into the doctor's office and you walk in and they ask you maybe for your name, or if you had an appointment, or for your ID card, or for anything like that, right? And you either tell them your last name and they search with your last name and they go, oh, hi, you have an appointment at 12:30, right? Where do they think they found you? It's a
Well,
database.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're like, oh, yes, I get it. Medical field, says Joe. I think I'm beginning to see the light. So, but and we're not even talking inside of like Stacy and you who work in that, but even as a customer, you go in there and they found you because your doctor has seen you before. I mean, I'm assuming that you already have been with this doctor, and there's a database there that says when they treated you, what the diagnoses were, probably your weight and your height and your pressure, the stuff that they check every time you go, what medicines you take. There's probably a whole database for medicines, a whole database for customers. And there's some way to relate which customer is taking which data, which medicine, because when someone types in your name, out comes that sheet that tells the doctor that you are the person who weighs this much, has been here 3 times already every 6 months, and who takes these, 2 medications. The doctor knows that because someone entered all that information into a database. And usually you were asked the first day you met this doctor, you were supposed to fill out by hand many times, long 2 or 3 sheets of data, and some poor creature inside of that office had to type it in, right? Yes, that person is entering data into the database. And then when you show up again, the receptionist says, what's your name? They type your name and boom, all your data comes up. So what's happening is someone created the database called patients, client, the table called patients, the table called medications, the table called visit appointments, for example. And then some other person entered the data. When you show up that day, someone entered, the weight, the blood pressure, the times that you have been there. Nowadays, they type it directly in. So the same person, the receptionist, might ask you a question, just type it in. So they are doing the data entry at the same time. So online banking, shopping accounts, medical records, utilities, insurance, just think about it. Any of these are stashes, stores, tons and tons of databases. And yet you go online, you type in your account number for your electric bill and you can see how much you owe. That's because they have all their data stored in a database, and all they need is your account number. Your account number separates you from another person with your same name. So say that both of you Josephs, had the same last name. Well, the only difference between Joseph and Joseph is that the electrical company gave both of you guys a different account number, right? So when the person called Joseph types in their name, there's probably 200 Josephs that are their clients. So that's not a unique identifier. But when someone types in an account number, that uniquely identifies your house with your electric bill. And it doesn't matter anymore if you are Joseph, Mary, or John. Does that make sense? So that unique identifier is crucial. There's so many Mary Smith's at school in Santa Barbara City College. So if oh God, there's so many Martin Garcias or Jose Hernandez. I have so many students with those names. I used to live on a street called Jose Hernandez when I grew up, and I have so many students Jose Hernandez's. It's a typical name. So how do I distinguish? Once I had two students with the same name in my same class. It was so hard to know. For grading, I had to be so careful because one was a really good student and one was not. As far as grades are concerned, they both tried really hard, but grading wise, I had to be so careful to give the right Jose Hernandez. Right. I think in this case it was Martin Garcia. But anyway, so Joseph Mercado, yeah, it's not that typical. Trust me, Diana Musacchio, never. No, can't find. There's only one more. In all of Facebook, there's one in Italy. I don't get anyone with my name. But yeah, Joseph Mercado, or, there's names that are not so typical. Maybe Jose Mercado, but Joseph Mercado might be harder to find, right? But in which case, the only way to distinguish you from this other person there that maybe had a higher unpaid bill or something is by, for example, your account name. In City College, what's your unique identifier, you guys?
It's our student ID.
Yeah, we call it a K number. Okay, so your K number at City College exactly is your unique identifier between one Katie and another Katie. All right. So if you go into the database and you just want to know how Martin Garcia or Jose Hernandez are doing, there'd be like no reply. If you look for Diana Musacchio, yeah, there'd probably be a reply, but no idea who Martin Garcia is until you put in their K number. That Martin Garcia, as opposed to the other 200 Martin Garcias. Then you get your personal information, your course, your grades, your registration, and all of that. Okay. So it's very important that amongst all these tables, there should always be something unique that nothing else has. So in a product, it might be a product number, right? Or a product distinction, or a client, an acronym for a particular client, or something like that. So each, what we called in Excel a spreadsheet, in Access a database, in Access a table, is going to have a certain set of information. So in SPCC, there's going to be a table with all your personal information, your first name, last name, middle name, where you went to school, where you live, all kinds of personal stuff, depending on your age, your parents' information, courses you're taking, what grades you got, what courses you're registered into right now, et cetera, et cetera. All of these are different, but they are all linked because they're unique to you, and they're only unique to you because they're linked always to your K number. And so to query that K number, you go to Student Services and they want to know how to help you. They'll go, what courses are you taking? They go, what's your K number? Type in your K number. Oh, you're taking these 3 courses, and oh, these overlap, and and then they can help you. They need to find you through your unique identifier. So that's, they query a database by typing in maybe your K number, and then maybe they type in a word like registration, and boom, everything that you're registered into comes up. Okay. So every time you go to the library, you're supposed to write in a keyword for the title, or for the author, or a general keyword, or a subject. So you get all these different ways that you are allowed to try to, not allowed, but you are given a chance to identify material by. So say that you decide that oops, I didn't mean to do that. I just put in a little spotlight on my mouse, and there we go. Huh. The spotlight disappeared. For some reason the spotlight is not appearing. Okay, so here we go. You're gonna, the database, the library, the books are sorted by genre, by title, alphabetical order, by shelf in which they're put away, and by which library the book is in. And so when you query a database, for us humans that are not database makers, we basically, all we do is we fill in a field. We just type in a name, but that is querying a database. That is the actual action of creating a database is to type something in and then say, go, select, sort. And boom, you get your answer. It's like, yeah, that book is available on shelf 25 of the Montecito library, or it won't be available for 2 more weeks until it gets due and stuff like that. Okay, so those are other examples of databases. I mean, in a small way, that's it. And in a huge way, it's Amazon or Spotify, you know, the music you search every day on your phone. Those are all databases. So from thinking that databases might not affect you in a daily life to discovering they affect you all the time, and that you you had not even noticed that you constantly query databases. Every time you put in a field, the musician, the artist you want, you're querying a database. It's just a technical way to say you're searching for something, right? So basically you have a form, and in this form you are, for example, every time I forget that I can't click here without it meaning something. So you search for something, the query occurs by having the computer goes in and searches for a table that has book locations, another table has the book names, another table has the book status, if it's checked in or out. And when it gathers all that information from 3 different tables, it pumps it out into a report. And that report can be something you see on screen, or it can be something you print out and you take with you all the way to the shelf, or maybe you just remember it and talk to the person behind the counter about it. So, but the report, if it's something that is the result of the queries search. Okay, so it's like the result of your request. So those are all the parts of a database: a form, a query, tables, and reports. Okay, those are what we call the objects of a database. So the tables are sets of related data, and related all and connected by some sort of identifier. Each table has to have some item, or at least one column of their data has to be replicated in the other one for them to all be somehow connected. Does that make sense? Then a query, then a report. So you enter the question, you ask it, you get a report. Those are the objects of a database. So the biggest difference between Excel and Access truly comes down to that in Excel, the data isn't connected, but in an Access database, the data is connected. And that's why we call it a relational database. Okay. Each one of these objects relate to one another. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there for a minute. Is there any questions?
I'm good.
Pedro, Stacy, Joseph, Julie, you're still there? Have you thought of one more database that maybe affects your life that I might have not spoken about yet? Anyone, everyone throw something up in the chat or say it out loud. One more database that I might have not mentioned. I mentioned many.
Does like iCloud and that type of storage count as a database?
It's a little bit different, no, because you have to find things yourself, like maybe putting up a search might be a bit like querying a database. Not really, but kind of. But really, that's more of, you would store things there and you would have to search for it, and to make your life easier, the search exists, which is a computer thing, but it's not really, data isn't stored in different tables that something has to figure something out to how to find it. Really, it's just whether you organize things well or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a bit different.
totally. That makes sense.
So ancestry.com. Yeah, ancestry.com is true. They and I only know because I actually did it last year. We got it for Christmas, my family. Yeah, you put in personal data and then you get your saliva tested, and then it comes back, and depending on the data, the company, I guess, enters that data into their databases, and it relates to millions of other people who have put in their data, and it goes, ooh, this one looks like this one looks like that one, and this means that you guys are cousins or brothers or sisters. So that's a total relational database. Perfect. Good example. Streaming services, yeah, if you're looking for music, like I said before, or you go into Netflix for one of those, and yeah, you can know the name in that sense. You can know the name of the movie. Say you want to watch, I don't know, I think my son told me Godzilla's coming out one of these days. So say
Yeah.
you're looking for Godzilla. I see, Katie, you and my son would get along really well because you got so excited about that. I've already talked about how they seem to have the same taste. So they go, so good. You type in Godzilla, well, boom, it just pops up. But what if you're just going first, like search for genres, and then, inside of a genre, you want things. So there's sub searches within that, like most popular in the subset of horror story movies or foreign movies, or certain actor has to be in it, right? So whoever created Netflix database has all that neatly typed out, and so you can search by actor, you can search by genre, you can search by popular, you can search by probably, I don't know if you can search by date it came out, I don't know how deep it gets in there. But food service, from a food service online, and they have terrible databases. Okay. Meaning it's hard to find stuff. What's terrible about it? You type something in and you don't get a result. Joseph? Yeah. So you want something with eggs and you can't find it, or you can't find a whole recipe, or what kind of search do you do that doesn't give you you mean like food service, like you're ordering food from a restaurant, or you mean to cook and you want information? Like if you're a restaurant, you have to order, your raw material from organizations, and you might need to know that you need 3 more boxes of butter and 1 thing of oil or whatever. The info is limited without product specs. Okay, so a good database we're finding is really important, right? So you got to tell them, you got to take this class or deeper level classes if you're going to organize a whole business. All right, so Julie, have you thought of any databases that it might affect your life? Hello. Well, all right.
What about Amazon? Did you already mention that?
Yeah, I mentioned Amazon. Amazon, it's beyond a database. It's like 85 databases put together, in the sense that there's almost databases within databases, because they also have like outside customers. I mean, I
Right.
can't even imagine the work that goes into creating that. Definitely, we're probably talking a different way of getting all that information in there, using, bots and things like that. I think it gets to a point that no one really, I don't know that everyone really types in every piece of data that Amazon handles, or maybe, yeah, people who put their things for sale do. I don't know, but it would seem too big. Who knows? I'm sure someone back there is like, no, we have to type all this data in. Anyway, all right. So these are the objects that we're going to be working with. And let me show you what a table looks like. Closely related information, such as first name, last name, address, or another one have product ID. So here's an example. We've already told you it's very much like what we just saw in Excel sheet. Sorry. There's a difference though. Whereas in Excel, we might have called that a column and a row. In Access, columns are called fields and rows are called records. Okay. So a field is more than just a column. We don't just say a different name for a particular reason. We say it also because it organizes by type of data. If I write the word in Excel zip code and I put in 93105, that's a zip code. But if I put in the word flower, Excel isn't going to tell me something's wrong. It's going to leave the word flower there and you know something's wrong, but you can write the word flower in there, even though you should be writing 93105. Does that make sense? It's just a suggestion that the zip code should go in there. But in a database, you can constrain the kind of information that goes in there. So you can say in this field, you can only put numbers and they can only be 5 of them. That way, if you put in 4 numbers, something pops up going, wrong. If you put in 6 numbers, wrong. If you put in the word flower, wrong, because you can only put numbers 0 through 9 and 5 of them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Has anyone had the very frustrating thing happen to you that you're trying to type in if you guys have a long last name or a patient or a client, a long last name, and it doesn't fit? Ah, that is my pet peeve. My name is long and it doesn't always fit. But on top of that, I saddled my kids with my name dash my husband's name, or the other way around, his name dash my name. Poor guys. All of the school forms that I've ever had to fill out online, half of their last name gets cut off. Why? Because whoever created the database for schools said that last names could only have, say, maybe 12 characters, because that's a typical thing in America. But they forget that people from other cultures and origin names come into this country and they have to end up basically losing their name. Talk about equity, because whoever designed that database didn't think of letting 16 letters be in the field for names, right? Can you tell I'm on my soapbox about this one? But truly, if you've ever moved past a form and tried to say, okay, go, and it says, nope, and there's a red thing, you haven't filled this in, that's because you can say, well, it's required. You can't move on until you fill that field with the right amount of letters. They have to be 5 numbers and they have to leave from 0 to 9, and you can't move on if you don't type it in, right? So that's, again, it's a database restricting you to move on. You have to enter the data correctly. Okay, so that when you create a field in Excel, we just write zip code on top. When we create a field in Access, we actually have to constrain the kind of data that's going to go into that field to make it more accurate. Okay. Okay. So anyway, here's an example of field names: first name, last name, street address. You probably, well, you already heard about my thing about how many names. Now a record is a bit more similar to a row in the sense that if you put the word Hillary and Clayton there, or instead you put the word Hillary and Boyd, Access won't know that it's wrong, as opposed to fields where you tell it what kind of thing it should go. Access won't know if you put the right data or not. But for your own interest, you need to know that any portion of information from a particular client or product or book or food you want to order, all has to stay within that same row. Thus, it's part of the same record. Is anyone here? I mean, in the health field, don't they call things records, the patient's records?
Well, nowadays we work, well, at least for me, I work in an EHR now. All of
what?
our in an EHR, electronic health record.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or before that, they were medical records, not so much just record, but it was always medical record. But nowadays we hardly have any paper, at least in my hospital where I work, we hardly have any paper records anymore. And the ones that we do have get scanned into the EHR anyway. So everything's available at any time. And now, since I live in San Francisco area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, a lot of the medical centers use the same EHR, so they're connected, they're interconnected now.
Yeah.
They can, we can see certain records from other hospitals that aren't ours.
Yeah. Yeah. But you just said it. We can see other records from other hospitals. I mean, it's basically the parlance, the people saying things came from, I don't know, chicken or the egg. Did the database adopt it because people say record, or did the record be called record because the database uses it? I don't know. but all the data from one person, right?
My
Right.
brain
Yeah.
says chart.
Well,
Chart
we
for
did call-
everything.
We did call it a chart at one point too.
I think of charts as in the hospital, like hanging from your bed when you're sick.
Yeah. Well, my
I
chart is
don't
a
know.
like mine is a folder that's about like this thick that
Yeah.
the person used to pick up, and you're just like, okay. And I was like, you have fun entering that all into my chart later.
So, and nowadays, though, I will say, like nowadays, they do, like my doctor, when I go to my doctor, she's entering it in on the computer as
Yeah.
I'm sitting there.
Yeah,
And they do
exactly.
that,
And what they're entering it into is into a database. All
right,
the
entering into
all
it.
the information that you're talking about is entering data into the database.
Yeah, because they can look up like different medications to give to you. So all they do is they type in like ARC or something, and it
Yeah.
pops up.
Yeah, and also they probably have something that in the past the doctors needed to know, but now probably if they're going to give you this one plus this one, probably something comes out going, woo, alarm, these two shouldn't go together, right? Just in case,
Yes,
just in
they
case.
Right? You're like, thank you
Don't
for
try
that alarm.
Don't try that combination.
And it does, believe me.
Yeah.
And even in the hospital, they have bedside, well, they have rolling carts with the EHR that's connected, and they go into the, well, they would have gone into the room at one point, but they chart everything while they're there. The nurse
Mhm. Yeah,
charts everything when she's giving you your pills. She charts that, and it's
yeah, Sansom and Cottage use my chart is what Joseph was saying. Yep, that's true. And I remember how frustrating it was. The health system in this country has always driven me crazy. I'm originally from Argentina. I don't know if I've forgotten that by now. We mentioned it, but I came from a place where I had control of my data, for better or for worse. But like a doctor would give me my X-rays and my lab tests, and then I'd go to my other doctor and show them my X-ray, and they'd give me their whatever. And I had like, you know, what Katie says, like you had control of your data. It was in the time of paper and everything, but here I came to this country and discovered that data stays with doctors. So if you go to one doctor, you go to the other doctor, and they don't know what X-ray you did or what, like there was such a disc, it was so weird. And yes, people having it isn't necessarily that good if you lose it, but at least you're responsible for your own material. And they probably had copies of it back in the office if you need it. But here, the doctor's offices never talked, you know, for 20 years until these systems came in. And then suddenly, finally, you're beginning to find that, you know, doctors can go in and find what these, send the data and all that. But that's such a weird thing about, don't get me going on my whole conversation about the health industry in this country and how not the best in the world it is. Not going to go there. I said I wouldn't. But yes, we certainly have high quality medication.
the other thing that's
Industry, if
good
you pay for it.
now. The other thing that's good now is like I work for Sutter, and Sutter has a patient portal. So now you can go and download all of your information,
Yeah.
and all your tests and your
Yeah.
X-rays, and take those
That's-
to the next doctor.
That's my chart right here. That's
Yeah.
Joseph mentioned Sansom and Cottage here, which in Santa Barbara, that's about it. I mean, there's, other than that, there's just a few private doctors, but that's it. There's a monopoly here. So if these two use my chart, then just about everyone else has to adopt that. Okay, all right. So y'all got very clear that we all use databases or are involved in databases, and our information and our data is inside of databases all over the place all the time. Yeah, there's no like lack of involvement in databases in our life. All right, so back to my sharing here. Now, here's an example of primary key or unique identifier. There are two words that mean the same thing. I prefer the unique identifier because to me that really tells me what it is. It's unique, right? The K number that I mentioned before. But many times you hear it labeled the primary key. So especially if you're in an exam or something like that, they might call it the primary key versus unique identifier. And in this case, each one of these people has been given a number. It's a number that no one else can have. So even if Colin Hopkins, whatever, stops working here, probably they won't give the number 46 to someone else unless it's very clear that all the Colin Hopkins's data has been deleted and someone else can be 46 now, but otherwise that's reserved, you know, for that person. I guess after some point, even phone numbers get given away again to to different people. So that somehow things must get erased at some point. But so that would be a primary key, a unique identifier. Think about your address. If someone needs to send you a letter home from Bangladesh and it needs to arrive to you, your unique identifier is so many people live in the United States, so many in California, so many in Santa Barbara, so many on your street, how many on your street, and your address number and your apartment number. So you've gotten down to the point where it becomes your unique identifier, right? Or your phone number. It's just you and no one else can be you. So that primary key is the unique identifier in that record. So in this case, as an example of, it's a code that probably who created this code chose BA. So the first two letters of these companies, BC, BCGA, Catering by Jenna, CJ. So whoever created this decided that would be 2 letters and 2 numbers. And 2 letters and 2 numbers is the way that whoever created this database assigned the primary identity. So if there's another WS, they're probably not a WS1, they're probably a WS5 or something like that. Now, you can, but okay, so I just one last, you can create your own, like this company obviously decided to create their own, or you can have the computer assign one. And typically if the computer assign ones, usually it just assigns numbers from 1 through whatever many items are there. So that would be a computer assigned identifier versus this would be something that someone came up with. And remember in Excel that we did that thing of the flash fill? You guys remember flash fill? So this would be something that you could create where the first 2 initials, the bike shop, TB, and then a number. You could probably have something numbered 1 to 12 and then have the first 2 initials plus the number fill flash into this and create that product number, right? Anyway, just trying to relate the data for you guys. All right, this is an example. The library entry data was a boring form, but it's a database entry. This is a prettier form with a little art and some colors, and some buttons. So you can, with Access, make some really fancy ones. You can have some, print the, put in the information and then print out the information if the client wants a copy and stuff like that. So you can get fancy. We're going to be using we're going to be creating basic ones here in module 1, but you can get really fancy. And then query is how you search for the data. Okay, so you can make simple queries or complicated queries. And remember, we did a sort or a filter in Excel. Well, in querying, you're basically asking for sorting and filtering to happen only at an nth degree level of complexity. And you can have really complex queries, or you could have just very simple queries. Now, for those of you who are truly interested in the subject matter, chapter 2 or module 2 of Access, when we used to teach it, would teach people how to query databases more in depth than what we're going to do in module 1. So if you really want to know more about querying and setting up queries, okay, because we as humans just type in the word, horror movie, and that's what we consider querying. But the person who creates the database has to have a series of rules set up so that when a person writes the word horror movie, the horror movies pop up. And that's what I mean by how to set up a query in your database, right? Anyway, and then the last part is the reports. So say that you asked for the first and last and phone number of your clients and when they're going to pick up. This is the report for that information. And now you know when people are picking up their material. All right, so that's all the database is. Let me give you an idea of the textbook project number 1. This example that I have here is not the one we're doing right now. We're doing a project called CMF Vets. And it's 3 different tables from treatment cost tables, appointments, patients, owners. There's all these different tables with lots of these records, and we're going to have to create a few of those tables, and then we're going to import some others. So we're going to learn how to create tables and how to import tables. And then we're going to create a form and end up having a report. Okay. So this is kind of what our homework or our table is going to look like. So the smaller one, the bottom one would be the one that we're going to type in. And this is an example of what the assignment that we used to have in 2016, but it's the assignment is the same. So basically we're going to type in less data, but we're going to learn how to create and type one. And then we're going to import a bigger one, like the one that's on top. And then with,
Pre-typed.
yeah, it's going to be pre-typed. Someone will have typed for us this long one, and we're going to type this one here. And then notice that in this example, this one here, okay, is account managers. This was a company that sold books to colleges, right? So this one here is your clients, so all the different colleges. And then this one is the book reps, the people who did the sales. So basically this is a sales force. And so this was Melina Perez, and this is where she lived, and this is how much money they made, and this is da. And these were all the colleges that were all the clients, right? So how do you relate this database to that database? Well, first of all, notice that there's a book rep number. So Melina Perez's book rep number, her number is 42, and Michael Statnik was number 48, and so on and so forth. Everyone has a number that's unique. Then in this table, you have each university has a code that's unique. But on top of that, at the end of all of these codes, you had, again, the repetition of the book rep number. So you'll see that book rep 42 was assigned to Applewood, Bodkin, Farnham, Mehtable, and Seaborn. So that's book number 42. So this is what allows this table and these table to connect, because over here we discover that book rep 42 is Melina Perez, and she's in charge of all these. And all that money that she sold adds up to this here, what her salary is. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes.
So that is how these two are related. So now that is in the data entry portion. Then when you query something, you might say, okay, please find out for this client how much money was paid, like how much and who sold it, and or please find out how much this book rep sold. So this would be a bit the idea of sorting and filtering, right? See how there's these little arrows that we saw here is the same as these little arrows are the same as the ones that we saw in Excel. And if I want to know what Applewood paid, it's that much. But if I want to know how much book rep 42 sold, then I would sort differently, and just instead of calling it sorting, we would query the table and say, hey, show me everything that 42 has sold. And then the rest would drop out, and I would only see 42, which would be basically the same thing as filtering. If we were to say filter by 42, we'd see only 42 in Excel. Well, in here, what we do is we query the table. So it's the same idea. And we say, show me what 42 did. And then the rest falls out and only 42 shows up. Okay. And then the last thing is the table, which is the form, which is usually made for customers' ease, for us users, not for database makers, but for the customer who needs to enter the data in. Either the receptionist at the desk asking you for the information, or the nurse asking you for your symptoms that is typing them in so that when the doctor walks in, they already see what symptoms you said you had, right? Or the person who takes your order at on the other side of, I don't know, the food company or whoever's you're ordering food from, right? The easiest way to enter data is to just have fields to enter it into, and not to have to do things at this level for the customer. Plus, you want to keep all the information private that's other than whatever they're being asked for. So, and then this would be an example of a report, okay, where you get the final, you ask what report you want and you'll get a report. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to do. And it comes out in one way and we're going to reformat it to look a bit better and stuff like that. So this is it. This is our first assignment with different data with vets and clients and stuff like that. But this is the setup of our first assignment. In this PowerPoint, I guess I've also given you access to links for tutorials, for more information about how to do, how to work with Access. There's a video turned in, created by Cengage, where you can watch some tutorials from Cengage in here. And then there's some others in these links if you want to get more information and stuff like that. And then there's a pretty good chapter class in LinkedIn Learning for getting started in Access. So this is for those of you who want more, in particular for those of you who want to know more than the basics, because we really do just cover the basics in module 1. Okay, so now, the question now is, I am going to go to Canvas and I'm going to show you Canvas, and we're going to, let me open that. I need to move this out of the way. We can open up a database. We can, I'm going to show you the basic setup of a database. And then after that, we can go into the trainings and do the training, which is due next week, or we can start doing the assignment and you can do it with us, or you can start doing it at home. So for sure, you got to do the training first. I wouldn't dump into Access without having first done all of the applies. Plus this time it's an assignment. And then by the time you get into doing it yourself in Access, it'll be easier. So I'm going to share my screen for a minute to show you what I mean by that. When we go, I'm going to close Excel. Actually, here you go. I'm going to close Excel. Don't save my changes. And remember that I had asked you to download this database as well. So if you click on that database, then yay, Access is opening up. And so I'm showing you this database as an example of a database. Yeah, this is a bit more of what it looks like. So this is just so that you have your first glance at what a database is all about before we go into trying to make it happen. Enable content. Okay, so there's a couple of things here that are pretty different than anything you're accustomed to. First of all, here on the left side, I'm going to close this guy. And as you can see, I have Access open, but I don't seem to have anything showing up. There's nothing visually showing up. And what's up is that Access is a little bit, imagine, you know how in Excel, you could have one Excel workbook with many sheets, right? You could have 10 sheets or 2 sheets or whatever. For example, for attendance, I have to keep my non-credit courses. I need to keep attendance charts. And so what I do is I have a sheet for each day of the class, and then I just run through the attendance for each one of those. At the end, they all of that with the formula tells me at the end who was there and who was not there. So the same thing here, only exponentially more complicated, because in one database, I can have whole bunches of tables. Let me bring my spotlight here. So this is one database in which I can have many tables. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tables. Okay. I can have many different queries. A couple of other this is queries instead of that, all these forms and these reports. So you can have a ton of different objects. Remember, these are called objects inside of a database. And when they're in here, they're closed. So normally you're accustomed that if you select something, it kind of pops open. It's a typical thing we expect from, Word Explorer, from Definer. But in this case, it isn't. Just touching something doesn't mean anything. You have to double click for it to open. Okay, now I've told you guys to download this. I'm not sure if you all downloaded it or not, but if you did, then please follow. And I'm going to show you the similarities and the differences. So this is Excel. Remember that if you had a column that was too small, you couldn't read the words. And if you went to that place right in between and double clicked, it expanded. So remember that? Same thing here, right? And if you click over here, you select now. I'm going to open a different one. I'm going to open it. I double clicked on customers. So customers is opening up, and whoa, there's a big one here, right? There's a lot of customers here. Now I'm going to open menu items. I'm going to double click menu items. So now I have a different table here. So these are 3 tables of my possible 8 or 9 tables that I have, and they're all opened up. And here I have menu items. Here I have customers, and here I have categories. They're open. And so I flip through the tabs like that to go from one to the next. Okay. So say that my customers are all these people. I've taken all the information, including I have here some personal information that would probably make them really happy for if they remember, whenever, who's this? Mariah calls me and tells me that she wants some cookies, that if I wrote down things like nut allergy, she'd be really happy to know that I'm already aware of that and go, oh yeah, that's true. You couldn't have almonds or whatever it is that they can't have, or peanuts or whatever it is. So anyway, you can make this as detailed or as not as you want. But here you might have asked, do you want to be added to the mailing list? And they might have typed in yes or no, and it just pops in here already written as yes, they chose no, or they said yes for special offers only. So then you want to know, well, who is going to be wanting me to send them the special offers? And so then I do a query. I get all the people who said yes to special offers, and then I send an email only to those people. Okay. So any changes you make and do here need to be saved as if these were individual files. The whole thing doesn't save itself like Excel did, where everything's saved at the same time. But if I'm making a change in customers, I need to save my customers file. If I'm making a change in menus, I need to change my menu. If I'm categories, I need to save categories. So any changes I make, I need to save individually for all of the database to be updated. Okay. As much as I can click and close each of these. I'm going to make this a bit smaller again so you can see the width. Each of these tables has to be closed independently, either by selecting their tab and going here to this little X right there. Do you want to save changes? No. I can also go to this tab and right click the tab. Hold on. I don't have the mouse with the right click on right now. And I can right click the tab and I can just close that tab, right? Or I can save any changes I made in that tab and I can close that tab. Or I can close all the tabs. Okay. Does anyone else have their database opened up? Has anyone else opened their sample database? Because if you're trying to do this with me, you might come up with questions. Nope, no one has it open. Okay, so if it's more of a show and tell, then let me just show and tell a couple more things. And then after that, I'll ask you who wants to stay to learn more and do the assignment, and who wants to just try and do things on their own. So anyway, so that's a little bit of navigation. I can use this little double-headed arrow to collapse, and it would seem as if you've lost all your objects, but if there's a little double-headed arrow over here, click and open, and then that's your navigation pane. That's the one that has all your objects and all your stuff. You could, of course, right click and get rid of one. You can do a bunch of different things, or you can create a new one, right? So you can go up to the word create, and from create, you can create new tables, new queries, new forms, and new reports. Each one of the objects that we have talked about gets created from the query. It's created from the create tab, no matter if it's a table or a query or a form or a report. Now there's different ways of entering data and creating a table. And so there's, I'm gonna go ahead and create a new table right now. Click create table. And there it is. We have a new table ready to be saved. On its own, it doesn't exist as if it were a file. If I don't save it and don't give it a name, it won't exist, right? So I can go ahead and right click and save, or I can go up here and if I go over here and save, here I'm actually creating a save that is for the entire file, not for that one individual table or object, okay? So this big save is for the entire thing. When you create a table here, you need to save it individually. So I'm going to save this one. I'm going to call it sample. Delete me because I'm not going to keep it. And I'm going to say, okay, right? Now that table actually exists. And I'm going to go ahead and enter data in here as if it were Excel, basically. I'm going to click in here. And remember I told you that each field has very specific type of information. So say that this field here is the one that's going to hold a zip code. Then I would choose the word number. If it's going to hold a name, I would choose short text. If it's going to hold a date or hyperlinks or stuff like that, I would have to put in here what kind of information I'm going to hold. A little bit like when you, in Excel, you can backwards format. You could put in a number and then tell it if it was dollars or not. But here, you want to be clear what kind of information you're putting in first. So I'm going to say short text, and I'm going to say that this is name. Okay, hold on. I'm going to tell the family to be a bit quieter. Oh, I guess that they heard me and they stopped. Anyway, so this is going to be name, and when I hit hit click over here, oh, it's a reserved word. Oh, no, first name. Why would it say that? There, first name again, not just name. So then in here I can start putting in names, but if I want to require, let's go for zip code. So it's a better example if I give you only one example. I'm going to say that this is a zip code because zip codes have a way of being written that's very specific, right? Names can be longer or shorter, but zip codes are basically written a certain way. So over here, what I want to do is I want to say what kind of information is going to go in here. So I can say my size for the zip code, and I'm going to make a mistake, you know, I'm going to say only 2, right? So then when I try to write my 93110, I swear to you, I'm typing it, but see how nothing else is going in other than the 9 and the 3? I'm typing 110, but I said that I could only take 2 numbers or 2 elements, 2 characters in this field size, and it's not letting me put that in. So anyway, I'm going to go back to saying 5. And now when I go in here and write 93110 or 92110, it allowed me to do that. Okay. Because now if I try to type some more, I'm typing nothing more here. Hit return and I can keep typing in more information. So that's an example of how you restrict and you tell things how big they have to go. Now here under data type, I'm going to tell it that it's a number. And it's warned me that it's been changed to a shorter size. That's okay. And since I said it's a number, see how boom, it went and aligned itself to the right as opposed to the left. Before it thought it was short text. So remember how Excel did that automatically here? It just needs you to tell it what is it? Is it short text? Is it a number? And so you say, yes, it's a number, and it can have a total of, and since I changed that, of 5 characters. And that'll make sure that no one types in their information wrong. Okay, so that's an example of how you would create your fields. So create the field a little bit more detail than you would have to in Excel. But then when you type stuff in there, it works in better. Let me, 1 second. Okay. All right, so any questions? As of what I'm showing you right now? Okay. I can show you a ton, or I can let you guys learn it depending on the interest, and I just want to know where you guys are at. And if you want to just start following the book, if you want to start doing the tutorials, you want me to keep showing you stuff like this? I need some voting.
I think I'm good to just like do it on
All
my
right, so
own.
Pedro is like, nope, everything seems good.
I think I too.
No questions from Joe. Joseph, Stacy, and Julie, are you there?
Yeah, I think I'm
I
gonna
kind of
benefit most.
want you to
from-
have this open and doing stuff versus me just kind of speaking into a vacuum. Okay, Julie needs to go. Perfect. You don't have to, by the way. Me asking you doesn't mean that you have to go, but if you have to go, that's fine. Let me look at the book and see if there's any cautionary points that I want to mention. Oh, you're gonna have, this sample isn't one of the ones that's downloaded. One of the ones that's downloaded is gonna have, I believe, a report or a query. Is it a report that has your personal data? One of the objects in the start sheet that you download is going to be your personal data, just like we had
Yeah.
a sheet in Excel, that's
Mhm.
your Cengage information. So just don't touch that one. That's just a warning sign.
And yeah, there's
Good luck with
there's
your
a
meeting, Julie. And
query.
remember, as usual, that if you have any questions, you've got not only Katie all week long, but Norma, Esther, and you'll have me next week, because if anything didn't get, don't try to start the file next week with us. But if you've been trying to do it and you have questions, then we can keep working on it next week in class as well. I think at this point, I want to make sure, sometimes you guys have gone to things and the links haven't worked. I'm going to go into the course modules and look at it from a student view to make sure that the links to the handouts,
Have a good
the,
evening. Julie.
the access. So here is the training. Oh, and by the way, one more thing, the actual textbook project, since we only have one, is worth 15 points instead of 10 points. So that's good news. And yes, you will have 2 SAMs, but we'll be doing that the following week together with PowerPoint and others. So if I click on the training, oh, since I'm in student view, it's not going to open up. I have to leave student view. But when I leave student view, I can't test it. It drives me crazy. Can one of you guys test to make sure that this training opens up? Because if I try to open it up, it won't, because I'm in student mode. And if I leave student mode, then it'll open up because I'm the teacher. So I should have signed in as someone else. Can somebody open the training and make sure that it's working?
Hold on.
I'm going to it right now. I'll see if
Julie,
it
Katie,
opens.
Julie wants to know how your dog is. You have a new dog? How did I not know you have a new dog?
Oh,
He's not a well. He's new by like
Well,
a
I'm
couple
asking about
years,
the new
but
dog, which no one can hear.
I
because your
realize. Yeah,
sound is
no.
off.
You can
It's
hear me
on,
now,
but
right?
it's not off, but it's not working.
Okay.
Your sound
Not
is
working?
not working.
Okay, that's weird.
Your sound is on, but we can't
Oh,
hear you.
I
interesting.
can hear
Or at
Katie.
least I can't hear you. The training works. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for
Okay.
testing that the training works for a student, because
I
it
think
will work for me,
Deanna
of course.
can't hear us, but I can hear
And
everybody.
Katie, we can still
Yeah.
not hear
Can you hear any of us?
If you've been saying
Diana?
stuff to us all this time, we haven't been
Uh,
hearing anything. Is it me who's not hearing you guys? I'm talking and talking and feeling silence. Say that again now.
Hi, I'm talking and
It was
Yeah.
me who was not
Yeah.
hearing. That's why I was hearing so much silence from the other side.
yeah, they're not talking much, but
But more than what I knew. What I
yeah,
knew was
maybe a
nothing,
couple
not a
things.
sound.
Okay.
The training does
Interesting.
open to answer your question.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's so funny. I kept going, wow, this crowd's cried today, and it was me all the time.
I love that. Every so often it's the
I was
whatever
like,
we
whoa, you
pressed.
guys, how quiet can you be? I'm not even a snicker here and there. Come on, I'm not a comedian, but now and then. Okay, you were making noises or groans
There was a
or
couple little noises every so often.
signs of life. I was like missing signs of life. Of course, I had
Yeah.
silence over there. Okay,
So
so I
yes,
saw
it opens for me too.
Okay, good.
good. So it opened up, and here it is. So I'm gonna launch
Yeah,
all of
you
it.
can do the training in any of the, or in anywhere. It's just the textbook you have to do in the virtual desktop.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
The trainings I usually just do on my Mac right away. And then
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. So remember to do the apply, well, do the, of course, the practices and the observes and the, and this one you might need some observes, but there's 35 tasks, okay? Create a new database. So let me see if any of these in particular is going to be particularly cumbersome. Add captions, but caption would be instead of writing the whole word for something, you might just write a short name for something. So instead of writing customer representative, you might just write CR, right? But at some point, instead of writing CR, you should write customer representative. And then the whole customer representative is the name of that field, but that field is going to have two letters, the numbers 12, 42, 46. So then you shorten it into a caption, CR. But if someone wants to know what that really means, you can click on it and know, oh, that really means customer representative, right? So that would be an example of caption. This format, design view or table design view. I'm going to show you that. So there's a couple of different views. So I'm going to head back here. And you can choose to see something in over here. You have choices of views. And if you click on it one time, you're going into design view. And if you click on it in the other way, you're going, so data sheet view and design view. So data sheet view is kind of like what I would call the Excel view, right? And then if you click here and choose design view, then that's design view, or you just click here and it switches from design to data sheet, design to data sheet. So you don't necessarily have to go down here, but this one at least gives you the name so you know which one is which. So Excel is data sheet, we know that. And this one is design view. So you can enter data. The way I showed you before is kind of the Excel way to enter data. You know, you hit your return, you go underneath, you write the data. That's kind of how you enter this data. So maybe here I'm going to write in a different zip code. And then you keep going and you write another. That's all like that. Or I can be in data sheet view. And over here, you don't enter the data. Here you create the items that are going to be like the requirements, the settings for each field. So over here in this Excel data sheet, I'm entering data, but I created in front of you guys a zip code, remember?
Mhm.
So now instead of creating the second one in this view, I'm going to create the second one in design view. So I'm going to, this would be the field names. So I'm going to put them here, and maybe I'm going to call this one country name, or let's say country, or actually let's do state, because then I can restrict it to two numbers, two letters. So I'm going to say state. And then over here under data type, I can choose short text, long text, number. See what I had shown you before? So I'm going to choose short text for state. And do I restrict it? Yeah, I'm going to restrict the field size down here. I'm going to restrict it to just two letters because, you know, state. Okay, so that's the equivalent of what I did before, right? So now if I go in here, you must, to switch, once you put new data in this mode, you need to save it. And now here it is, there's state. And I try to put in California. I'm trying to write California and it's going, no way, Jose. I'm only doing CA because you told me to only do CA. Okay, or two. So I restricted and I created a data view. And then here is where I put the data. Now notice that it's not letting me, it's not formatting correctly. And if I want to format it, then I need to go in here and use the typical things that I've used in the past. over here in the home base, I can go ahead and select the entire column and center it. And that's how I want my formatting to be, or, you know, so you can still do formatting, basic formatting in information over here. So anyway, so that's how you would create your setup from here. Now, in this case, there's more, you're gonna learn more details of the kind of things that you can create. But say that my next, say that my next one is gonna be, throw me another one here. What else should my other field be? Pet name, right? So that would be, what kind of thing would it be? What kind of, and I can hear you guys now, and I'm hearing that no one's saying anything.
I'm looking, I'm saying, I would say long text.
Okay, interesting. Let me say no, because notice that short text, it can be up to 255 characters. So it's not too short, is it?
No, I guess.
I know, thank you for mentioning that. Short text is pretty long.
many
It's only,
characters?
I think long text, I looked it up once, and it's, I don't know if
Infinite.
it has, I don't know if it's not infinite, but it's pretty, I think it's pretty huge. But I don't know what number. But short text is usually suffices for most things, unless you're trying to write in the whole chart history of something, right? That 255 characters is pretty much a good description for most stuff. So yeah, let's make it short text instead. And now let's go ahead and do my typical pet peeve, as I was saying, is let's say that 12 characters, right? That should be enough for a dog's name, right? And then see, when I'm done with this, I can either remember to save it before I go, or if I forget, when I change to enter data, then it's going to remind me and I'll say yes. Okay. So here I have pet name, and it so happens that my dog is called Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Can you tell that we listened and watched Mary Poppins the other day? No, Saving Mr. Banks the other day. So supercalifragil, and I am stuck, right? It's not letting me. So yeah. And I was given the example of my name and my poor kids' hyphenated last name. So if you're ever a maker of databases, consider other worlds, other cultures, other naming conventions, and not just Jan Typical Smith and, you know,
That's insane.
things like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
whose name? Like, what did you just say?
Oh no,
Oh.
I'm just like a supercalifragilistic is the best
Yeah.
name for a dog. Do you have to say the whole name when you call him?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, come here now. Did you do bad boy, or bad girl? Would supercalifragilistic be a girl or a boy's name? I don't know.
That would be good. It doesn't matter. It could be either.
Anyway,
True.
so say that I would like pet name to not say pet name, but say PN for any weird reason. So then over here, I could do it. I could, you know, kind of fix it from here. Or more interestingly enough, I could go over here to view. And instead of pet name, I could assign it a caption. And so I could, you know, work with how I'm gonna label that one so that it shows up a PN. You're gonna have many examples of that ID. Like this one here says auto number. So when I head over to the entering data, notice that I'm just entering data. So I'm gonna put in another number here. And when I do that and shift, see how this is being 2, 3, 4, it's auto numbering. This is what I meant, that if you don't assign a unique identifier, then Excel, or not Excel in this case, Access will assign it for you. And it's assigning numbers from 1 through whatever, as many as you give it. So if you want a different unique identifier, such as a product name or a K number or something like that, you would have to assign it. So say that you want a zip code would never be a unique identifier, but say that you create a product, a product number. and say that the product number is going to be the unique identifier. And let me correct that. Then you could call this the unique identifier. And I'm going to go back to this view thing and see this little key that's right there. That means that this is the primary key. It's assigned automatically to the ID field, but I could just click it over here and say that no, that I want this one to be the unique identifier, right? So I can just drag this one here, right click, call it the primary key. There can only be one that's a primary key. So now the product number is going to be the primary key. Okay. So when I go back into this mode, I'm going to save it first. May not contain a null value. That's true because I don't have a null value. It's okay. I didn't complete it. Okay. So I would have to be more specific and explain much more about key numbers. So I'm going to go back over here. But anyway, I was going to show you how you can choose different things to be your primary keys. But the auto number is the one that if you don't, then Excel gives access. I keep saying Excel today. Access gives you one. Looking at the book to see things that I know that might be stumbling blocks. Design view, adding records. Yeah, so when you're in the okay. I'm gonna shut up. I'm looking at stuff. I don't want that. And oops. Okay. It's gonna. Don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Okay. So when I want this to be, why? Oh, because I left a field in here. Why is it telling me this? Oh, I know, because I had gone into format. Okay, I'm gonna have to create one. It's driving me crazy. I'm gonna create, I don't know, street short text, and that's my primary key. Okay,
You just got rid of the primary key.
I did.
There you go. It's got the cute little picture.
Yeah, that's okay. Shorter size doesn't matter. So I walk out. So over here, I can enter data just by hitting next, or I could go in here and look for records. So look for records. I have very few. I just have 3 records here. So I can click over here and go up to 1, 2, 3. If I open one, I think customers here had a lot more data. Yeah, so maybe I want to search for customer number 40, 59. I don't know how many they have in here, but let's assume there's 59. And I can go over there, and it took me all the way over. Why did it take me to 68, 69? I can search for, let me look for a name here. I can look for Harris, for example. So I'm going to search for Harris. And I wrote Harris in here, and then it found it. Or I can search for, I don't know, how about the city of Raleigh? So Raleigh. And when I hit, and then up comes the city of Raleigh. And when I hit again, it goes to the next city of Raleigh, and so on and so forth. Okay. It found 5 out of 200 choices. It's on number 2 of 200. Now it's on number 3 of 300. I can move forward that way. Or I can decide that I want to enter a new record. Okay, so say that I'm in the middle of this and I don't even know how many, say that I'm up here and I don't even know how many entries are here. I don't want to scroll all the way down. I just click this little yellow star. It's hard to see, but there's a yellow little star button there, and I say new record. Boom, and it pops all the way to the bottom and is ready for me to enter a new one. Okay. Is that new record? I'm skimming through the book. Resizing columns is just like in Excel. You do it by dragging it or by double clicking. There's the structure, closing the table. Well, closing a table, I already showed you how you just either close it from here. If you've made changes, then you're gonna have to save it. Additional database objects, queries. Okay, the rest is pretty much self-explanatory. When we want to enter and import some stuff, so say that I want to create a table without writing all the stuff myself, then I can create a table by importing, or I can create it by writing it in, right? So if I decide to create a table, then one option that's going to be available to me is to import the material. So I can external data. I go over here to external data, right? And I can choose to bring material in from Excel or a text file or from an XML file or for a PDF or from an email. There's all these different places I can bring material in from. So we're going to go ahead and enter. You're going to have to download a start file and an accompanying file, which is going to be another Excel sheet. And that's the one that you're going to create another table from. Okay. So that one you don't create from new. And that takes care of what I think could be stumbling blocks. Or at least you got a feel for the beginning of this database. Now I'm gonna save this one and close it. All right. How are we doing? Do you want to try the? I'm looking over here to see in these tasks. Is there not any other task here that seems like it might need particular explanations? Adding a field, adding a caption, format property, table design view, field size. That's what I was saying about making it be what kind of properties, like it be numbers or text, enter a record into a table, form view, navigate to the first record, the next record. That's what I just showed you. Primary key, data type, rename a field, create a query. I haven't shown you how to create queries or forms, but that won't be complicated. Okay, compact and repair a database, backup a database, open a database, close a database. Okay, so these things here are things that you would be doing outside of the data, which is the kind of stuff you do here in the file tab. Okay, so this is where you would compact and repair when you have issues with what's happening. You could encrypt it and stuff like that. Or you could create new ones, or you would save them and stuff. Save as, and then you can save not only the entire database, but you could also save individual objects in your database. If you save the whole database, then it shows you different ways to save it, to back it up, to make it accessible, and they're going to run you through a couple of those. Or you could save as and create a whole nother database that's the same as what you want with a new name. Okay, there's just different ways to saving. It's not just save as by one file. Print is as usual. They'll show you what the parameters are. I think that that's the things. Any other question? Anything, Katie, that you know people run into trouble with?
The only thing I've got is when you create another field, open one of the tables up. And then click to add field. And then they have you do short text. I'll tell you where it starts getting, type in whatever you want.
Product type, flavor, I don't know, flavor.
Yeah, and then it tells you to click this, the blank space below that area. So you click there, and then it automatically goes straight to ID. But they want you to change the field size of the
type.
flavor.
Yeah.
So you have to go back to click on the one you
field.
want.
I see what you
and then go up to
once you're done, you're not set there, and they forget to tell you to click on that. But what the important thing So you want to change the field size, not of the ID, but of the flavor. So you
Yeah,
need to
so
head
people
the
end up
field flavor again.
Yeah.
And then go back
Go
to
to fields,
And then in here, you get to choose if you can have a name and caption. Remember, it was short or long version of
Mhm.
it. Field size, what kind of data is going to be into it. That's really the kind of things that we usually check.
yeah. But
Is it
it's
required? Like this required, I don't have it set up yet right now, but the required is that, I'm going to turn it off, is that place in forms where you try to leave and they go, nope, you can't leave until you give me your phone number, you know, required or not, that would be that
That's
setting,
nice.
stuff like that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really annoying because it automatically, once you enter in the
The data.
title for the field
Mhm.
and you click out of it to then go and change the field size, it just throws you over to the far left field.
It defaults to there, yeah, $2
Mhm.
to select it again. Yeah, that one tends to be an issue. You're right. That's all I can think of. It's not access, databases, because no one has come upon them, take a bit to understand what you're talking about. When you understand it, and if you know Excel, it's just a matter of knowing what the buttons are. It's not really complicated per se. So hopefully you'll all sail smoothly through.
Yay.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm reading about Katie's dog now, or I will read about Katie's dog.
Yeah,
But
he's
yeah, so Joe and Joseph, if you wanna go and give it your own try, or if you wanna hang out and try it while we're here, I'll hang out. Your choice.
For now.
You're good to
Okay.
go, okay? So Joseph, if you wanna give it a try, start working on the training and see if you have any questions. Or if you wanna do it on your own, no pressure, we are here, I am here, and as long as you wanna be here, I have a lot of work on the computer. So,
okay. Joseph
okay,
looks like he's heading out.
you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
go
head
too.
out too.
I always
Awesome.
try to make sure
Joes.
that
The
I am here
Joes.
working anyway, so it's not hard for me to
Mhm.
stay. But if
Nope.
you're willing to get out of here, then let's vamos.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome. Have a good rest of your day. And if you guys do have trouble tomorrow, I'm here from 5 to 8.
Okay.
And Esther, we're both hanging out. She's an she does accounting in her normal job. She
Thanks.
knows a lot on a Excel.
That's cool.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
you're welcome. Bye, Joe.
Night.
Hi.
Take care. Let me see what you said about your dog. He's
Okay,
the newest
so
in the family.
he's the newest, but he's like a couple years so far. I think
Oh,
since yeah, no, he is really funny. He was so
how big is he that you carry
he's
him?
only like 75 pounds,
Oh my,
but
that's
uh,
not only.
I've only had big dogs. I have had Saint Bernard, or not Saint Bernards. I want a Saint Bernard so bad. No, like
Yeah.
German Shepherds, Golden Retrievers, and Husky-sized dogs are.
Yeah.
This is our first dog that we've ever had to like bend over to pet.
Me too. We have a small. Mine is much smaller than yours, but
Mhm.
he's what 50. I mean, he's knee height, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that to us is tiny. All our other dogs have been big. Well, no, one of Jack's used
Yeah,
to be that size.
he's I know he's part pit bull, and we're like I'm saying pit bull border collie. My dad's pit bull or Great Pyrenees mix is where he's saying, because he's got like the dense pit bull body where it's just like you can't move it. It's a solid
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
concrete
yeah.
block.
Yeah, no, this guy is actually mine is light and supple, and I know what you mean though by the dogs that are
This is my first real
hard.
dense dog I've ever had. The other ones were light and the taller, and like 75 pounds was the normal weight for the taller size, lighter dog. But
Yeah.
he's just like, no, I'm solid.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, we could probably
That's the
stop
difference
recording.
between my boys. Exact same description.